CEO Sloan Mitchell stood in the rain outside Bennett and Associates at 11 p.m., holding a broken designer heel. Her car wouldn't start, her phone was dead, and she was stuck. Then Evan Carter, the facilities manager and single father she barely noticed, walked out. "Ms. Mitchell, are you okay?" he called out, concerned. "My heel broke. My car's dead. My phone's dead. I'm fine," she said, trying to sound composed. "You're standing in the rain," he pointed out gently. "I'm aware," she replied, a hint of frustration in her voice. "I can fix the heel," he offered. "What?" she asked, surprised. "I fix things. It's my job. Give me the shoe," he said simply. She did. He fixed it in 5 minutes. Then he offered her a ride home. She accepted. Neither expected what happened next. Before we begin, let me know where in the world you're watching this from. Now let's start. Evan Carter, 37 years old, single father to 2 daughters, Lily, 9, and Grace, 6, was leaving work late. Again, being facilities manager meant fixing whatever broke, whenever it broke. Tonight, the HVAC system on the 3rd floor. He was exhausted, covered in dust, ready to go home. Then he saw her. Sloan Mitchell, CEO of Bennett and Associates, 41 years old, standing in the rain looking lost. He'd worked there for 5 years, seen her maybe 10 times total. She was always moving, always busy, always intimidating. Now she looked human. "Ms. Mitchell?" he called out, walking toward her. She turned, startled. "Oh, Evan, right? Facilities." "That's me. Are you okay?" he asked, genuine concern in his voice. "I'm fine, just my heel broke, my car won't start, and my phone died. But I'm fine," she said, her frustration evident despite her words. She was clearly not fine. "Let me see the heel," he offered, holding out his hand. "What?" she asked, confused. "The broken heel. I can probably fix it," he explained patiently. "You fix heels?" she asked skeptically, raising an eyebrow. "I fix everything. Comes with the job," he said with a slight shrug. She handed him the shoe, expensive, designer. The heel completely snapped off. Evan pulled out his toolkit, always carried it. Dad habit and work habit combined. 5 minutes later, using epoxy and a small clamp, the heel was reattached. "It won't hold forever, but it'll get you home," he said, handing it back to her. Sloan stared at the shoe in amazement. "You just fixed it. In the rain. In 5 minutes." "I told you, I fixed things," he replied matter-of-factly. "Thank you," she said, genuinely grateful. "About your car," he started. "I'll call a tow in the morning," she interrupted quickly. "And how are you getting home?" he asked practically. "I'll find a way," she said, uncertainty creeping into her voice. "I'll drive you," he offered without hesitation. "You don't have to," she protested. "Ms. Mitchell, it's 11 p.m., it's raining, and you're stranded. I'm offering a ride. Please accept it," he said firmly but kindly. She did. His car was old, cluttered with kids' stuff. Car seats, toys, juice boxes. "Sorry about the mess. 2 daughters," he apologized as she settled into the passenger seat. "I didn't know you had children," she said, looking around with curiosity. "Most people don't. I keep work and home separate," he explained, starting the car. "How old?" she asked, genuine interest in her tone. 9 and 6. "Lily and Grace," he said, warmth filling his voice when he mentioned their names. "And their mother?" she asked carefully. "Left 3 years ago. Said motherhood wasn't what she expected," he said quietly, eyes on the road. "I'm sorry," she said sincerely. "Don't be. We're better off," he replied with certainty. They drove in silence for a while. Sloan gave directions to her penthouse. "This is me. Thank you for the ride. And the shoe repair," she said as they pulled up to her building. "Anytime," he said simply. She opened the door, then paused and turned back. "Evan, can I ask you something?" "Sure," he replied, looking at her curiously. "Why did you help me?" "You could have just gone home," she asked, studying his face. "Because you needed help. That's what people do," he said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "Not in my experience," she said sadly. "Then you've been around the wrong people," he said gently. She smiled, the first genuine smile he'd seen from her. "Maybe I have." The next morning, Evan found a coffee and a note on his desk. "Thank you for last night. The heel is still holding." He smiled to himself. That afternoon, Sloan appeared at his workshop. "Ms. Mitchell, can I help you?" he asked, looking up from the door handle he was fixing. "The heel broke again," she said, holding up the shoe apologetically. "Already?" he asked, surprised. "I wore them to 3 meetings. Your fix was good, but not permanent," she explained. "I told you it was temporary," he reminded her with a slight smile. "Can you fix it permanently?" she asked hopefully. "Probably, but it'll take time and better material," he said, examining the shoe. "I'll pay you," she offered immediately. "You don't have to pay me. I'll fix them tonight, bring them tomorrow," he said, waving off the suggestion. Evan, these are $1,000 shoes. I'm paying you, she insisted. Ms. Mitchell, he started. Sloan, if you're fixing my shoes, call me Sloan, she interrupted. Sloan, he said, testing the name on his tongue. I'm not taking money for a 5-minute repair. Then what do you want? She asked, studying him intently. The question hung in the air. Nothing, just let me fix them, he said finally. She left the shoes. That night, Evan spent 2 hours properly repairing the heel, reinforcing the break point, ensuring it would hold. The next morning, he left them at her office with a note. Should hold now, but maybe invest in flats. EC. Sloan showed up at his workshop again at lunch. They're perfect, she said, a smile playing at her lips. Good, he replied, pleased. I don't do flats, she said firmly. I notice, he said with amusement. Why did you spend 2 hours on my shoes, she asked directly. How do you know it was 2 hours, he asked, surprised. The security footage shows you in your workshop until midnight, she admitted. You watched security footage, he asked, eyebrows raised. I was curious, she said, a slight blush coloring her cheeks. About shoe repair, he asked skeptically. About you, she said honestly. Evan set down his tools and turned to face her fully. Why? Because nobody's been kind to me in a long time. And you were kind. I wanted to understand why, she explained. There's nothing to understand. You needed help. I helped, he said simply. It's more than that. Evan, I've been CEO for 8 years. Everyone wants something from me. Power, promotions, access. But you don't want anything, she said. That's not true, he countered. What do you want? She asked. I want to finish fixing this door handle so accounting stops complaining, he said, gesturing to his workbench. Sloan laughed, actually laughed. That's refreshingly honest. It's the truth, he said with a grin. Can I take you to lunch to thank you? She offered. For fixing your shoe, he asked. For being kind when I needed it, she said softly. Evan hesitated. I have to pick up my daughters at 3, school early dismissal. Then we'll make it quick, she said immediately. Lunch was at a sandwich shop near the office. Nothing fancy. This is very different from where I usually eat, Sloan observed, looking around. Where do you usually eat? Evan asked, taking a bite of his sandwich. High-end restaurants, business lunches, networking, she said with a slight grimace. Sounds exhausting, he said sympathetically. It is. This is nice, normal, she said, relaxing into her seat. They talked about everything except work. Evan's daughters, Sloan's lack of family, his life as a single dad, her life as a lonely CEO. Don't you have anyone? Evan asked gently. Friends, family? My parents died 10 years ago. No siblings. Friends. People in my circle aren't really friends. They're connections, she said matter-of-factly. That's sad, he said quietly. That's reality, she replied with a shrug. Doesn't have to be, he said, meeting her eyes. At 2:45, Evan stood. I have to get the girls. Of course, thank you for lunch, she said, standing as well. You paid, he pointed out. Thank you for the company then, she said with a smile. Walking back to the office where Sloan said, Can we do this again? Lunch, he asked. Yes, maybe tomorrow, she suggested hopefully. I thought you were thanking me for the shoe repair, he said. I am, but I'd also like to get to know you better. If that's okay, she said, a hint of vulnerability in her voice. Evan studied her, saw loneliness masked as confidence, saw someone reaching out. Okay, tomorrow, same time, he agreed. They had lunch every day that week. Thursday, Sloan asked, Can I meet them? Your daughters? Why? He asked curiously. Because you talk about them constantly. I'm curious, she admitted. They're 6 and 9. They're chaos, he warned. I'd like to meet your chaos, she said with a smile. Friday after work, Evan brought Lily and Grace to the office. Sloan was waiting in the lobby. Girls, this is Ms. Mitchell. She's my boss, Evan introduced them. You're the shoe lady, Lily announced loudly. Excuse me, Sloan asked, amused. Dad fixed your fancy shoes. He told us, Lily explained. Sloan smiled warmly. He did. Your dad is very good at fixing things. He fixes everything, Grace said proudly, stepping closer. Our toys, our bikes, everything. I'm learning that, Sloan said, kneeling to Grace's level. They talked for 10 minutes. Sloan was stiff at first, unsure how to interact with children. But Grace climbed into her lap uninvited. You're pretty, like a princess, Grace said, touching Sloan's necklace. Thank you, Sloan said softly, touched. Do you want to see my drawing? Grace asked excitedly. I'd love to, Sloan replied, genuine warmth in her voice. Evan watched Sloan soften, saw her smile genuinely at his daughter's chatter. On the way home, Lily asked, Is Ms. Mitchell your friend? I think so, Evan replied. She's nice, but she seems sad, Lily observed. Why do you think that? He asked, glancing at her in the rearview mirror. Because she smiled, but her eyes didn't. That's what Grandma says means someone's sad inside, Lily explained seriously. Lily was too perceptive for 9. That night, Sloan showed up at his house unannounced. Evan opened the door, surprised. Sloan, what are you... Is everything okay? Can I talk to you? The girls are asleep, she asked nervously. They are, come in, he said, stepping aside. They sat on his couch. Sloan fidgeted with her hands, unusual for her. Your daughters are wonderful, she said softly. They liked you too. Grace said you are like a princess, Evan replied with a smile. I'm definitely not a princess, she said, shaking her head. Grace is rarely wrong about these things, he said warmly. Sloan smiled briefly, then grew serious. Evan, can I ask you something? Sure, he said, turning to face her. Would you have dinner with me? Not lunch, actual dinner, she asked, meeting his eyes. Like a date? He asked carefully. If you want it to be, she said, a hint of hope in her voice. Evan leaned back, considering. You're my boss. I know, she admitted. But I'd like to be your friend too. Maybe more than your friend. This is complicated, he said quietly. I know. Sloan looked at him directly. But I haven't felt this way in years. Like I actually want to spend time with someone. Not for business. Just because. Because, he prompted gently. Because you fixed my heel without asking for anything, she began, her words coming faster now. Because you talk to me like a person, not a CEO. Because your daughters are wonderful and you raise them alone and you're still kind. Because I drove home after meeting them and realized I was smiling. I haven't smiled like that in years. Evan was quiet for a moment, processing. Then, okay, she asked, hope blooming in her voice. Okay, dinner, tomorrow night. But I need to find a babysitter, he said with a slight smile. I'll wait, she said immediately, relief washing over her. Sloan, he said seriously, this could get complicated. At work, with the girls, with everything. I know, she nodded. But I'm willing to risk complicated for a chance at something real. Me too, he said, reaching for her hand. Saturday night dinner was at a quiet Italian restaurant. Sloan arrived early, nervous. She was never nervous. Evan arrived exactly on time. Sorry, Grace didn't want me to leave, he apologized as he sat down. It's fine. What did you tell them? About tonight? She asked curiously. That I was having dinner with a friend, he said. Just a friend? She asked, a hint of disappointment in her voice. For now. They're 6 and 9. They don't need details, he explained gently. They ordered, talked. The conversation flowed easily. How long have you been CEO? Evan asked, sipping his wine. 8 years, started as VP of operations, worked my way up, she replied. And before that? He prompted. Consulting, 80-hour weeks, no life, just work, she said with a grimace. Sounds familiar, he said sympathetically. You work 80 hours? She asked, surprised. Between my job and raising 2 kids alone? Easily, he said matter-of-factly. How do you manage? She asked, genuinely curious. I don't really, I survive. Fix what breaks. Hope nothing major goes wrong, he admitted. That's exhausting, she said softly. That's life, he replied with a shrug. Sloan was quiet for a moment, then, I admire you. Why? He asked, genuinely puzzled. Because you do it all. Work, kids, life. I just have work, she said honestly. You could have more, he suggested gently. How? She asked. By letting people in, he said, looking at her meaningfully. Like you, she asked, holding his gaze. Maybe, he said softly. They finished dinner, walked outside. The night was cool, clear. Evan, I need to be honest with you, Sloan said, stopping on the sidewalk. Okay, he replied, turning to face her. I haven't dated anyone in 5 years. I don't know how to do this, she admitted, vulnerability clear in her voice. This? He asked gently. Whatever this is. I run a company. I make decisions worth millions. But a simple dinner date terrifies me, she said, laughing nervously. Why? He asked. Because I care. I care what you think. I care if this works. I haven't cared about anything except work in year, she explained. Evan took her hand. I'm terrified too. Of what? She asked, surprised. Of bringing someone into my daughter's lives who might leave. Of getting hurt again. Of my boss firing me when this inevitably gets complicated, he said honestly. I wouldn't fire you, she protested. You say that now, he said with a wry smile. I mean it. Evan, I don't know what this is either. But I'd like to find out, she said earnestly. So would I, he agreed. They kissed, gentle, tentative, both afraid. When they pulled apart, Sloan was smiling. That was nice, she said softly. Very nice, he agreed. Can we do it again? She asked hopefully. The kiss or the dinner? He teased. Both, she said laughing. They started dating secretly. Coffee before work. Lunch every day. Dinners when Evan could find a sitter. One week in, his mother asked questions. "You're going out a lot lately," Margaret observed. "I'm seeing someone," Evan admitted. "Who?" she asked, curious. "My boss," he said carefully. Margaret nearly dropped her coffee. "Your boss? Sloan Mitchell?" "Yes," he confirmed. "Evan, that's," she started. "Complicated, I know," he finished. "I was going to say brave. She's intimidating," Margaret said. "She's lonely and kind and good with the girls," he said defensively. "She's met them?" Margaret asked, surprised. "Once, briefly," he said. "And?" she prompted. "Grace called her a princess. Lily said she seems sad," he reported. "Is she?" Margaret asked gently. "Very," he said quietly. 2 weeks in, the company grapevine noticed. "Have you seen Sloan Mitchell lately? She's smiling," one employee whispered. "Never seen her smile before," another replied. "She had lunch with Evan from facilities. Again." "That's the 4th time this week," someone observed. "Think they're dating? The CEO and facilities? No way." Evan heard the gossip. So did Sloan. "People are talking," she said at lunch one day. "I know," he replied. "Does it bother you?" she asked. "Does it bother you?" he countered. "I don't care what they think. But Evan, if this becomes public, it could affect your job," she said concerned. "How?" he asked. "They'll say you're sleeping your way up. That I'm showing favoritism," she explained. "Are you?" he asked directly. "No, but perception matters," she said seriously. "So what do we do?" he asked. "I don't know. Keep it quiet or—" She trailed off. "Or what?" he prompted. "Or I stop caring what anyone thinks and just be happy for once," she said determinedly. 3 weeks in, Sloan had dinner at Evan's house. Nothing fancy, spaghetti with the girls. Lily interrogated her immediately. "Are you Dad's girlfriend?" "Lily," Evan protested. "What?" Grandma said to ask. Lily defended herself. "Grandma talks too much," Evan muttered. Sloan laughed. "It's okay. Yes, Lily, I'm your dad's girlfriend. If that's okay with you—" "Is she nice to you, Dad?" Lily asked seriously. "Very nice," Evan confirmed. "Does she make you happy?" Lily continued. "She does," he said, smiling at Sloan. "Then it's okay," Lily declared. Grace had a different question. "Can you do tea parties?" "I've never done a tea party," Sloan admitted. "We should have one tomorrow," Grace exclaimed excitedly. "Grace, Miss Mitchell is busy," Evan started. "I'd love a tea party," Sloan interrupted, smiling warmly. Sunday afternoon, Sloan showed up for tea, dressed in jeans, first time Evan had seen her in anything but business attire. "You own jeans?" he asked, amused. "I bought them yesterday. For tea party purposes," she admitted, smiling. The tea party was chaos. Stuffed animals, plastic cups, pretend cake. Sloan played along perfectly. "More tea, Mrs. Fluffington?" she asked Grace's teddy bear seriously. Grace giggled delightedly. "Mrs. Fluffington says yes, please." Lily watched carefully from the corner. Pulled Evan aside later. "She's trying really hard," Lily observed. "I know," Evan said. "That's good, right? That she wants to fit in?" Lily asked. "Very good," he confirmed. After the girls went to bed, Evan and Sloan sat on the couch together. "That was exhausting," she admitted, leaning against him. "Tea parties usually are," he said, putting his arm around her. "But nice." "Your daughters are wonderful, Evan," she said softly. "They liked you. Grace wants you to come to every tea party now," he said, amused. "I'd like that," she said sincerely. "Really?" he asked, surprised. "Really, Evan, I don't know how to be a stepmother, but I'd like to learn. If this goes somewhere," she said honestly. "You're thinking long-term already?" he asked. "I'm 41. I don't have time for casual," she said matter-of-factly. "Fair point," he conceded. 4 weeks in, HR called Evan. "We need to discuss a potential conflict of interest," the HR director said seriously. His stomach dropped. "What conflict?" "Your relationship with Miss Mitchell," she said. "How did you—" he started. "Someone reported it, anonymously. We need to address it formally," she explained. "Okay, what does that mean?" he asked, trying to stay calm. "It means you either end the relationship or one of you needs to transfer to a different reporting structure," she said. "She's the CEO. Everyone reports to her," he pointed out. "Not directly. We can restructure so you report to the COO instead," she suggested. "Will that solve the problem?" he asked. "It'll solve the optics problem," she confirmed. Evan told Sloan that evening at her penthouse. "They know. They want us to restructure or end it," he said heavily. "Then we restructure," she said immediately, no hesitation. "Just like that?" he asked, surprised by her certainty. "Evan, I'm not ending this. You make me happy. I haven't been happy in years," she said firmly. "What if the board object?" he asked, worried. "The board works for me. Let them object," she said confidently. "Sloan," he started. "I'm serious. I'll restructure the entire company if I have to. But I'm not giving you up, she declared. The restructuring was announced the next day. Facilities now reported to the COO instead of the CEO. The gossip exploded. They actually did it. They restructured for their relationship, someone whispered. That's kind of romantic, another said. Or completely unprofessional, a third countered. Evan didn't care about gossip, but someone else did. His ex-wife. Melissa Carter called 5 weeks into his relationship with Sloan. I heard you're dating your boss, she said without preamble. How is that your business? Evan asked coldly. Because you're raising my daughters, she started. Your daughters? You haven't seen them in 3 years, he interrupted angrily. I'm ready to be in their lives now, she announced. Absolutely not, he said firmly. Evan, you're dating someone. The girls need stability, I can provide that, she argued. You abandoned them, he said, his voice hard. I made a mistake. I want to fix it. And if you fight me, I'll make sure everyone knows you're sleeping with your boss to get ahead, she threatened. That's not what's happening, he protested. Doesn't matter, it's how it'll look, she said coldly. She hung up. Evan told Sloan immediately, his hands shaking. She's threatening you? Sloan asked, anger flashing in her eyes. Us. She says if I fight her custody claim, she'll ruin both our reputations, he explained. Can she actually get custody? Sloan asked, concern evident. I don't know, maybe partial. She's their mother legally, he said helplessly. Even after abandoning them? She asked incredulously. Courts favor mothers, even absent ones sometimes, he said bitterly. Sloan was quiet for a moment, then, we fight her. Sloan, if this goes public, he started. I don't care, Evan, those girls are your life. We're not letting her take them, she said fiercely. This could hurt your career, he warned. My career isn't more important than your family, she said without hesitation. You say that now, he said doubtfully. I mean it. We hire the best lawyer. We fight this. Together, she said, taking his hands. You're sure? He asked, searching her face. I've never been more sure of anything, she said firmly. They hired a family lawyer, filed opposition to Melissa's custody petition. The case was set for 6 weeks out. 6 weeks of stress, preparation, and Melissa's escalating threats. She's calling the press, Evan said one night, exhausted. Threatening to leak our relationship? Let her, Sloan said calmly. Sloan, he protested. I'm serious. Let her leak it. I'll confirm it myself. Take away her power, she said determinedly. That's a big risk, he warned. You're worth it, she said simply. If you believe that sometimes love means fighting together, share below. The strongest relationships face challenges head-on. Sloan held a press conference the next morning. Unannounced, unplanned, completely on her terms. I'm here to address rumors about my personal life, she began, standing confidently at the podium. Yes, I'm in a relationship with Evan Carter, our facilities manager. We've restructured reporting to avoid conflicts of interest. Our relationship doesn't affect his employment or advancement. Any questions? The room exploded with voices. Isn't this inappropriate? One reporter called out. 2 consenting adults in a relationship? No, she replied calmly. But he works for you, another started. He works for the company. I work for the company. We're colleagues who happen to be dating, she corrected. What about favoritism? Someone challenged. Evan has received no promotions, no raises, no preferential treatment since we started dating 6 weeks ago. His performance reviews are handled by the COO, not me. Next question, she said firmly. Why go public now? A reporter asked. Because someone is trying to use our relationship as leverage in a personal matter. I'm removing that leverage by being transparent, she explained. The interview was broadcast everywhere. The internet had opinions. CEO dates facilities manager. That's actually kind of sweet, one comment read. Or completely inappropriate power dynamics, another countered. She restructured to avoid conflicts. That's responsible, someone defended. Still weird, another replied. Evan watched from his workshop, heart pounding. His phone rang. Melissa. You let her do that? She demanded angrily. I didn't let her do anything. She made her own choice, he said evenly. You're using her to fight me, she accused. I'm dating her. She's choosing to support me. There's a difference, he said firmly. This isn't over, Evan, she threatened. But it was. Melissa's lawyer called 2 days later. My client is withdrawing her custody petition, he said. Why? Evan asked, hardly daring to believe it. Because the publicity isn't favorable. Your girlfriend's press conference painted my client as the villain, the lawyer explained. She painted herself as the villain by abandoning her kids, Evan said coldly. Regardless, the petition is withdrawn, the lawyer confirmed. After hanging up, Evan sat in silence, relief washing over him. It was over. He called Sloan immediately. She withdrew. Really? Sloan asked, hope in her voice. Her lawyer just called. She's dropping the custody case, he confirmed. Evan, that's wonderful, she exclaimed. It's because of you. Your press conference, he said gratefully. I just told the truth, she said simply. You sacrificed your privacy for my family, he said, emotion thick in his voice. I'd do it again, she said without hesitation. That evening, Sloan came to his house. The girls were at his mother's. Just the two of them. I need to tell you something, Evan said, taking her hands. Okay, she said, looking at him. I love you, he said simply. Sloan froze. What? I love you. I've been falling in love with you since the night I fixed your heel. You're brilliant and strong, and you make me want to be better. And you stood up for my daughters without hesitation. I love you, he said, his voice steady and sure. Evan, she started, tears forming. You don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know, he said gently. I love you too, she said, the words rushing out. You do? He asked, surprised. I think I loved you from the moment you fixed my shoe in the rain and didn't ask for anything in return. You're kind and real, and you make me feel human again. Yes, I love you, she said, cupping his face. They kissed, different from before, deeper, more certain, full of promises. What happens now? Sloan asked when they pulled apart. Now we figure out how to actually do this. Date properly. Build something real, he said. I'd like that, she agreed. Even with 2 kids in the mix, he asked. Especially with 2 kids in the mix, she said warmly. 2 months after going public, Sloan moved in. Not officially, she kept her penthouse, but she stayed over most nights. Helped with homework, made breakfast, badly but she tried. Attended school events. Ms. Mitchell came to my art show, Grace announced proudly one day. She's basically living here, Lily observed. When's she moving in for real? Would that bother you? Evan asked carefully. No, we like her. And Dad, you're happy. You smile all the time now, Lily said. I do? He asked, surprised. You do. It's nice, Lily confirmed with a smile. 3 months in, Sloan had a business trip. Chicago 3 days. I don't want to go, she said while packing, frustration evident. It's your company. You have to go, Evan reminded her. Come with me, she said suddenly. I have kids, he started. Your mom can watch them, please. I don't want to be apart, she said, looking at him hopefully. Evan hesitated, then agreed. Chicago was different, just the 2 of them. No kids, no work pressure, just being together. This is nice, Sloan said at dinner, reaching across the table for his hand. What is on, he asked. Being us, no distractions, she said contentedly. We should do this more often, he suggested. Weekend getaways, she asked. Just us time. The girls are important, but so are we, he said. Agreed, she said, squeezing his hand. The last night in Chicago, Sloan proposed something unexpected. Move in with me, she said suddenly. What? Evan asked, startled. To my penthouse, you and the girls. Move in with me, she said earnestly. Sloan, that's... He started. Huge, I know, but I'm tired of going back and forth. I want us to actually live together. Build a life together, she explained. What about the girls? They're settled in our house, their school, he said, concerned. So we sell my penthouse and buy a house together. Near their school. Big enough for all of us, she proposed. You'd sell your penthouse? He asked, surprised. I'd sell anything to build a life with you, she said simply. That's a big step, he said carefully. I'm ready for big steps. Are you? She asked, looking at him intently. Evan thought about it. About Sloan making breakfast, attending tea parties, helping with homework. Yes, I'm ready, he said. They put Sloan's penthouse on the market when they returned. Started house hunting. Found a place 2 weeks later. 4 bedrooms, big backyard, 10 minutes from the girls' school. This is perfect, Sloan said, walking through the empty rooms. It's expensive, Evan said, looking at the price tag. I'm buying it, she declared. We should split it, he protested. Evan, I'm the CEO. I make considerably more than you. Let me buy the house, she said. That doesn't feel right, he said uncomfortably. Then consider it an investment in our future. Please, she said, taking his hands. He agreed. They moved in 2 months later. The girls got their own rooms. Evan and Sloan shared the master bedroom. This is weird, Lily said on moving day, looking around. Bad weird, Evan asked, concerned. No, good weird. Like we're a real family now, Lily said, smiling. We were always a real family, Evan reminded her. I know, but now it feels official, Lily said. Sloan overheard from the hallway, teared up. You okay? Evan asked, coming to find her. I never thought I'd have this. A family, a home that feels lived in. People who want me around, she said, wiping her eyes. We don't just want you around. We need you around, he said, pulling her close. I need you too, all of you, she said, hugging him tightly. 6 months after moving in, Sloan had another business crisis. Major client threatening to leave, board demanding answers, stress level through the roof. She came home at midnight, exhausted and defeated. What happened? Evan asked, looking up from his book. Davidson pulled their contract. That's $40 million in revenue, she said, slumping onto the couch. Can you get them back? He asked gently. I don't know. I've tried everything, she admitted, defeat in her voice. Come here, he said, opening his arms. He pulled her close, just held her. I'm supposed to have answers, Sloan said quietly, her voice muffled against his chest. I'm the CEO. You're also human. You're allowed to not have answers sometimes, he reminded her. The board is furious, she said. The board can wait until tomorrow. Tonight you rest, he said firmly. I don't know how to rest, she admitted. Then I'll teach you. Like you taught me it's okay to ask for help, he said, kissing the top of her head. He ran her a bath, made her tea, sat with her until she fell asleep. The next morning she solved the crisis, called Davidson personally, negotiated a new contract, saved the relationship. How did you do it? The board asked, impressed. I stopped panicking and started thinking. Sometimes rest is the best strategy, she explained. She credited Evan when they were alone. You helped me see clearly. I just reminded you to breathe, he said modestly. That's what I needed, she said, kissing him. 8 months after moving in, Evan's mother asked the question. When are you proposing? Margaret asked directly. What? Evan asked, startled. To Sloan. When are you proposing? She repeated. Mom, he started. She's living with you, raising your children, loves you. What are you waiting for? She pressed. I don't know. Fear, maybe, he admitted. Of what? She asked gently. That it's too fast. That she'll realize she doesn't want this life, he said honestly. Evan, that woman restructured her company, held a press conference, and sold her penthouse for you. She's not going anywhere, Margaret said firmly. How do I even propose to a CEO? What do I offer her that she doesn't already have? He asked helplessly. Yourself, your family, your love. That's more than enough, she said, squeezing his hand. Evan thought about it for weeks. Bought a ring. Simple, elegant, nothing compared to what Sloan could afford herself. Planned to propose at a fancy restaurant. Then Grace got sick. Bad flu, fever of 103, up all night. Sloan stayed up too. Cool washcloths, medicine, reading stories. At 3 a.m., Grace finally fell asleep in Sloan's arms on the couch. Evan found them there. Sloan exhausted, Grace peaceful, both curled together. You should sleep, he whispered. I'm okay. I wanted to make sure she's comfortable, Sloan whispered back. Sloan, you have a board meeting in 4 hours, he reminded her. I'll reschedule. Grace needs me, she said simply. You'd cancel a board meeting for her? He asked, moved. Of course. Evan, she's important. More important than any meeting, she said, stroking Grace's hair. That's when Evan knew. He knelt down right there, 3 a.m., both exhausted, Grace asleep between them. Marry me, he said quietly. Sloan blinked. What? Marry me. Be my wife. Be their mother officially. Build this life with us forever, he said, pulling out the ring. Evan, it's 3 a.m., she started. I don't care. I love you. They love you. Marry us, he said earnestly. Sloan started crying silently. Yes. Yes, he asked, hope and joy mixing. Yes, obviously yes, she whispered, careful not to wake Grace. He slipped the ring on her finger, kissed her, gentle, careful not to wake the sleeping child. I have a ring, somewhere. I was going to do this at a restaurant, he started. This is better. This is real, she said, looking at the ring. This is us at 3 a.m. with a sick kid, he said. This is perfect, she said, meaning it. If you believe that the best proposals happen in real moments, subscribe below. Love isn't about perfect timing. It's about perfect people. They got married 3 months later. Small ceremony, backyard wedding, just family and close friends. Lily and Grace stood with them as junior bridesmaids, beaming with pride. Do you, Sloan, take Evan to be your husband? The officiant asked. I do, she said, her voice clear and certain. And do you accept Lily and Grace as your daughters? The officiant continued. I absolutely do, Sloan said, looking at the girls with love. Girls, do you accept Sloan as your stepmother? The officiant asked them. Yes, they chorused together, practically bouncing. The ceremony was perfect. Simple, heartfelt, exactly what they needed. At the reception, Sloan's assistant Jennifer pulled Evan aside. Thank you, she said warmly. For what? He asked, surprised. For making her happy. I've worked for her for 6 years, never seen her smile like this, Jennifer said. She makes me happy too, Evan said, watching Sloan laugh with his mother. I know, it shows, Jennifer said with a smile. 1 month into marriage, the company faced a hostile takeover attempt. Venture capital firm trying to buy Bennett and Associates. Aggressive, public, messy. Sloan was at the office 18 hours a day fighting it. Evan barely saw her. I'm sorry, she said, coming home at midnight again, exhaustion evident. Don't apologize, you're fighting for your company, he said, getting up to greet her. Our company. You work there too, she reminded him. Sloan, are you okay? He asked, concerned by how tired she looked. I'm exhausted, terrified. The board is split on whether to sell, she admitted, sinking onto the couch. What do you want? He asked, sitting beside her. I want to keep the company. But Evan, if we fight and lose, I could lose everything. The company, my job, our financial security, she said, fear creeping into her voice. We'll be okay, he said confidently. How do you know? She asked. Because we have each other. Everything else is details, he said, taking her hand. The takeover battle lasted 2 months. Press conferences, board meetings, shareholder votes. Sloan fought brilliantly. Evan supported from home, keeping the girls stable, keeping life normal. Finally, the vote. The board chose to reject the takeover, 7-5. Sloan called Evan from the boardroom, relief in her voice. We won, she said. You won, he corrected. We won. I couldn't have done this without you keeping everything else together, she said. That's what partners do, he said simply. 3 months into marriage, Lily asked a hard question. Are you going to adopt us? She asked Sloan directly one evening. Sloan looked at Evan. They hadn't discussed it. Would you want me to? Sloan asked carefully. You're our mom now. It should be official, Lily said matter-of-factly. But you have a birth mother, Sloan started. Who left and doesn't want us? You stayed. You chose us. That makes you our real mom, Lily said firmly. Sloan teared up. I'd be honored to adopt you if your dad agrees. I agree, Evan said immediately, his voice thick with emotion. The adoption process took 4 months. Paperwork, background checks, home visits. Finally, the court date. This court grants the petition. Lily and Grace Carter are now officially Lily and Grace Mitchell Carter, the judge announced. The girls had chosen to add Sloan's name to theirs. Because you're both our parents, Lily had explained earlier. 6 months into marriage, Evan got a job offer. Director of facilities for a major corporation. Double his salary. Take it, Sloan said immediately when he told her. It's across town, different company. I'd leave Bennett and Associates, he said hesitantly. So, Evan, this is an amazing opportunity, she encouraged. But we work together, he started. And we'll still live together. This is your career. Take it, she insisted. You're sure? He asked. I'm positive. We don't need to work at the same place to make this work, she said firmly. Evan accepted the position. His last day at Bennett and Associates was bittersweet. We'll miss you, his team said, gathering in his workshop. I'll miss you too. But it's time for something new, he said. Sloan threw him a goodbye party. Small, intimate, in the conference room. You started here 5 years ago, she said in her speech, her voice warm. Fixed my heel that first night. Fixed my heart shortly after. Now you're off to bigger things. We're proud of you. Everyone clapped. Evan's new job was demanding but rewarding. Better hours, better pay, more responsibility. How's the new place? Sloan asked at dinner one evening. Different, good different, he said. Miss us? She asked with a smile. I miss seeing you at lunch, but coming home to you is better, he said, reaching for her hand. 8 months into marriage, Grace got in trouble at school, fighting with another student, completely unlike her. The principal called them both in. Sloan and Evan sat together in the principal's office. Grace said the other student was making fun of her family situation, the principal explained. What situation? Evan asked, confused. Having 2 mothers, her birth mother and Sloan, the principal clarified. Grace started crying. Jenny said I'm weird because Mom Sloan isn't my real mom, and Mom Melissa left because she didn't love me. Stop, Sloan interrupted gently, kneeling in front of Grace. Grace, listen to me. I am your real mom. Not because I gave birth to you, I didn't, but because I choose you every single day. That's what makes a mother real. Choice. But Jenny said, Grace started. Jenny's wrong, and we'll discuss with her parents about bullying. But Grace, you are loved. By your dad, by me, by Lily. We're your family. Don't ever doubt that, Sloan said firmly, pulling Grace into a hug. Grace hugged her tightly. I love you, Mom Sloan. I love you too, sweetheart, Sloan said, her voice thick with emotion. The principal nodded. I'll speak with the other students' parents. This is unacceptable. Driving home, Grace asked from the back seat, Mom Sloan, do you ever miss not having your own kids? Like kids you gave birth to? No, Sloane said without hesitation. Really? Grace asked. Really, Grace? I spent 41 years thinking I'd never be a mother. Then I met your dad and you and Lily, and I realized being a mother isn't about biology. It's about showing up, loving unconditionally, being there. I get to do all of that with you. Why would I need more? Sloane explained. Because some people want babies, Grace said. Some people do. I wanted a family. I got one. I'm happy, Sloane said, meeting Grace's eyes in the rearview mirror. 1 year into marriage, they celebrated their anniversary. Anniversary dinner at home. The girls made cards. To Mom, Sloane, and Dad, thank you for being the best parents. We love you. Lily and Grace. This is better than any gift, Sloane said, holding the cards carefully. After the girls went to bed, Evan gave Sloane a small box. Inside, a charm bracelet. 3 charms, 2 small shoes representing Lily and Grace, and 1 broken heel. The heel that started everything, he explained, fastening it on her wrist. Sloane laughed through tears. You fixed my heel and my heart. You fixed mine too, he said. We're quite the pair, she said. The best pair, he agreed, kissing her. 2 years after Evan fixed Sloane's heel, they returned to that rainy spot. Outside Bennett and Associates, 11 p.m. Why are we here? Sloane asked, looking around. Anniversary tradition. The spot where it all started, Evan explained. It's not raining, she observed. Good, I don't want to get wet, he said with a smile. They stood where she'd been stranded 2 years ago. I was so lost that night, Sloane said softly, literally and figuratively. And now? He asked, putting his arm around her. Now I'm found. I have you, the girls. A life I never imagined, she said, leaning into him. Best broken heel ever, he said. Agreed, she said, laughing. Back at home, Lily was working on a school project at the kitchen table. What's the project? Sloane asked, coming in. We have to write about someone who changed our lives, Lily explained, not looking up. Who are you writing about? Sloane asked, genuinely curious. Lily looked up. You. Sloane's eyes filled with tears. Me? Yeah. The assignment says to write about someone who made a big impact. You changed everything. Dad's happier, our family's bigger, everything's better, Lily said simply. Lily, that's... Thank you, Sloane said, her voice catching. It's true, Lily said, smiling. 3 years after the heel incident, Sloane stepped down as CEO, transitioned to chairman of the board. Why are you leaving? The company asked at the announcement. I'm not leaving. I'm transitioning. I've been CEO for 11 years. It's time for new leadership. I'll stay involved as chairman, but I want more time for my family, she explained. Your family changed you, Jennifer observed later. For the better, Sloane confirmed. Definitely for the better, Jennifer agreed. With more free time, Sloane became more involved with the girls. Attended every school event, volunteered for field trips, coached Grace's soccer team, badly but enthusiastically. Mom, Sloane, you're terrible at soccer, Grace said lovingly after practice. I know, but I'm trying, Sloane said, laughing. That's what matters, Grace said, hugging her. 4 years after fixing the heel, Evan's mother pulled him aside at a family dinner. Look at your life, Margaret said, watching Sloane help the girls with dessert. What about it? Evan asked. 4 years ago, you were exhausted, lonely, raising 2 kids alone. Now look, you're happy. The girls are thriving. Sloane transformed from lonely CEO to devoted mother. You did that, Margaret said. We did that together, Evan corrected. That's love, Evan. Real love. Building something better together, Margaret said, squeezing his hand. 5 years after the broken heel, they had a family meeting. Girls, we want to talk to you about something, Sloane said, sitting down with them. Are we in trouble? Grace asked nervously. No. We want to ask your opinion. How would you feel about having another sibling? Sloane asked. Silence. Then Lily, you're pregnant? Sloane laughed. No, we're considering adoption. There's a little boy, age 4, in foster care. His name is Marcus. His situation is complicated, but he needs a family. You want to adopt him? Grace asked, eyes wide. If you're comfortable with it. This is your family too, Evan said. The girls looked at each other. Some silent communication passed between them. Then both, yes, let's do it. You're sure? Sloane asked. We were adopted by Mom Sloane, Lily said. We should give that to someone else. The adoption process took 6 months. Marcus Carter Mitchell joined the family 3 days after his 5th birthday. Shy, traumatized, unsure, but slowly, with patience and love, he opened up. Grace appointed herself his personal guide. This is our house. That's my room. That's Lily's room. That's your room. And Mom Sloane makes bad pancakes, but we eat them anyway because she tries. Grace, Sloane protested, laughing. It's true, they're very bad, Grace said unapologetically. 6 years after the heel incident, Evan found Sloane in Marcus's room one evening. She was reading him a bedtime story. He'd fallen asleep in her arms. You're good at this, Evan whispered from the doorway. At what? She whispered back. Being a mom, he said. I'm learning, still, she said, looking down at Marcus. You're more than learning. You're thriving, he said warmly. Sloane looked at Marcus's peaceful face. I never thought I'd have this. Children, family, purpose beyond work. And now, Evan asked? Now I can't imagine life without it, she said softly. 7 years after fixing the heel, they celebrated. Lucky 7, Evan said at dinner with all 3 kids. 7 years since you fixed my heel in the rain, Sloane said, smiling at him. Best repair job I ever did, he said. You fixed more than a heel, she said. So did you. You fixed my loneliness, my fear, my belief that I had to do everything alone, he said. The kids, now 16, 13, and 11, groaned in unison. You guys are being mushy again, Lily complained. It's gross, Grace added. I like it, Marcus said seriously. It means they're happy. We are happy, Sloane confirmed. So happy. That night, after the kids were asleep, Evan and Sloane sat on their back porch. 7 years, Sloane mused. Feels longer, Evan said. In a good way, she agreed. In the best way, he said. Evan, can I tell you something? She asked, turning to face him. Always, he said. That night you fixed my heel, I thought my life was complete. CEO, successful, accomplished. I had everything, she said. And now, he prompted. Now I realize I had nothing. Work isn't life. Success isn't happiness. Family is everything, she said, taking his hand. Even with 3 chaotic kids and bad pancakes, he teased. Especially with 3 chaotic kids and bad pancakes, she said, laughing. They sat in comfortable silence, hands intertwined. Then Sloane said softly, Thank you. For what? He asked. For seeing me that night. Not CEO Sloane Mitchell, just Sloane. Lost and alone and needing help, she said. Thank you for letting me help, he said. And for fixing my heel, she added with a smile. And for fixing your heart, he asked. You absolutely fixed my heart, she said, kissing him. Because sometimes the most important repairs are the ones you don't expect. Sometimes a broken heel leads to a fixed heart. Sometimes a lonely CEO finds family in the least likely place. Sometimes the man who fixes everything fixes the one thing that matters most. Love. If you believe that sometimes we fix each other without even realizing it, subscribe to Solo Parent Stories for more tales of unexpected love and found families. The best repairs are the ones made with heart.